You're listening to the Naptime Empires podcast with my mom, Nikki Elledge Brown. Mom, your show's on.
Thanks, bud. I got it from here. Welcome to the Naptime Empires podcast, refreshingly honest conversations on the realities of parenthood and entrepreneurship. I'm your host, Nikki Elledge Brown. Let's get started.
All right, I want to talk to you about appreciating where we are now. In this particular moment, in this particular season of life, even if it's not where you ultimately want to be. And in order for this to make sense, I need to read you an Instagram caption that I wrote. At the time I'm recording this, it's November 2018. I wrote this caption in July when I had just gotten home from TJ Maxx, and I bought this $20 pair of jeans that didn't change everything. It just reminded me of this truth, right? That's why I want to anchor it in. It's worth a solo episode to me. You know, I only record solo episodes if it's something that I really want to anchor in for you and for me to revisit in the future. Speaking of, I'm recording it now, but I know I'm going to listen to this again one day, and hopefully you will too, as you need it. But I'm going to read you the caption, and then we'll go from there. Okay. It's a selfie of me wearing these new jeans that I had bought at the time. A couple of nights ago, I set out to buy a suitcase for our upcoming trip to Alaska. Found the suitcase instantly. Scrolled to the $10 sunglasses. Yes. As I headed back to shop for my tall drink of 6-year-old water, this cute pair of jeans caught my eye. I grabbed them in a size I'd consider rounding up. A size I haven't bought since college. Love you, TCU Dining Options. I didn't try the jeans on in the store, mostly because I had awkwardly propped all my items onto the aforementioned suitcase and logistics were unstable. But I tried them on when I got home, and you know what, team? They fit so well, and they made me feel so good. So good that I've worn them 2 days in a row when I've spent most of the last year either in sweatpants, workout pants, or my favorite comfy dresses. If I've worn jeans in the past year, they've been so tight that I've unbuttoned them as soon as I sat down. Even enlisted the old pregnancy trick where you use a rubber band to make a second loop. Yep. Why did I wait so long? These jeans, they're magical. They're magical because they're cute and a great value, but mostly they're magical because they've reminded me of a meaningful life lesson I'm learning over and over again. Even and especially if it's not exactly where you want to be, appreciate where you are. Physically, geographically, emotionally, energetically. Appreciate where you are now, and now, and now. You look right over your current reality's head with a wandering eye like, yeah, cool, but what about when X happens, or Y is here, or Z is the norm? And you know what? That's messed up. Because now is here with its own gifts to offer. Now is life, literally. And assuming you're lucky enough to have more nows on the way, now is the bridge that will take you to them. Now is what makes then possible. So give it a go. Consciously decide to appreciate where you are now. Trust where you are now. Let now show you what it needs to show you. Trust that now knows what's up. Appreciate where you are now, and before you know it, you'll remember that now is actually where you've always wanted to be. Here's the thing, and I was about to say, remind me to go back. That's how much I totally feel like we're having a conversation right now. But I'm going to go back and share a post from my friend Susan Hyatt that she shared like a month or so after this post, and it's actually perfect for the context of the conversation I want to have, because a lot of times, and in Susan's post, well, let me just read it. Okay, she says, and I'll link to this in the show notes at naptimeempires.com. She says, most self-help experts encourage you to live in the moment, stay in the present, be here now, la la la. Sometimes that's really good advice, sometimes it's not. In certain moments, say when it's 4:45 a.m. and your brain is whining like a toddler, it's helpful to detach from the present moment, which might be filled with fear, resistance, inertia, self-sabotaging thoughts, and outright lies, and focus on the future instead. Focus on how great you're going to feel once you finish that run, once you send that email, once you complete the big project, or once you speak your mind and get the truth off your chest. Think about your future feelings, not your present ones. Personally, when I focus on my future feelings, how I'm going to feel in an hour, a month, or a year from now, I usually feel braver and more motivated to do whatever needs to be done. ... And she talks about 1 hour from now, you'll be so glad you did it. 1 year from now, you'll be so glad you started today. Okay, so here's what I want to say. At a glance, those might seem like opposing messages, but it's actually beautiful because Susan's point illustrates how I'm able to appreciate now, which is in faux retrospect, okay? And so that's what I'm talking about in my post, which is like when you think about wherever you want to be one of these days, And you can see that right now, when you decide that right now is not in the way, but on the way, as Dr. John DeMartini says, then you can appreciate it for the stepping stone that it is. There's that phrase, it's a setup and not a setback. It's a choice. When you choose to see that right now is leading you to wherever you're going to be. Right now, there's a lesson for you. There's something for you to learn. There's a benefit from where you are currently in this moment. Then it helps you. It helps you to have trust and faith that there is a divine order at play and that there's a benefit to whatever situation that you're in. And if we're constantly arm wrestling it and fighting it and we're like, no, this isn't where I'm at. It's like we've made our current reality a nightmare because we're addicted to the fantasy of that one day future. Well, then we're just going to be stuck here because that fantasy isn't real. It's one-sided and life is not one-sided. Now that I could talk about, oh my gosh, over the last couple of months since then, really since August, I've been diving into the work of John DeMartini, and there's a whole lot I want to share with you on that for another day or another month or another podcast. But really the whole point is, I know what it feels like when you're like, oh, but I wanted to be here by now, or I wanted to feel like this in my body, or I wanted my business account or my bank account to look like this, or my relationship or whatever. And so we're fighting, constantly fighting where we currently are. And one thing we know for sure is that doesn't feel good, right? It definitely doesn't feel good to be arm wrestling your current reality. So if you're having a hard time with that, and if you're having a hard time because you think that embracing where you are now and appreciating where you are now means that you don't ever want something different or to grow and shift and change, then this is a helpful tip for you, because it's like thinking about now in the context of the bigger picture and trusting that it is on the way, not in the way, will help so much. And this is beautiful timing because as I'm recording this episode, like I said, it's been a few months since I recorded an episode. And over those few months, I've had so much clarity around why I created the experiences for myself over the last year to 3 years, to be honest. So one season of life, you could say, started to shift when Nikki was born at the very, 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 very end of 2015. So at the beginning of 2016, and I've shared this in other episodes, but I'll reshare it because it's relevant always. So I have Bryson, who at the time when Deacon was born was he had just turned 4. And then Nikki was newborn, a few weeks old, and we were at breakfast at Aulani, our favorite spot, a Disney spot on the west side of Oahu. And we were talking about going to Disney World later that year for Thanksgiving, and I was doing the math and realizing that Bryson was going to be 5 by the time we went to Disney World that year. And I just broke down in tears. It was like a mini traumatic experience, truly. I've done a lot of work on it in the years since because it was such a moment and I feel like everything shifted. And the reason why I'm talking about the context and I'm sharing this with you is because it's so beautiful to me how I can see how everything shifted at that point. And while I was resisting the shifts, because the shifts were basically the reason why I was crying, because I was like, I feel like I've spent most of his early preschool years with my head in my laptop, building the business and la la la. And I had all this overwhelming mom guilt that came over me because I was only seeing the drawbacks and none of the benefits to that time with my head in my laptop. With more perspective and with more time, I can see that there were many beautiful benefits to that, and setting an example for him and setting us up financially so that my husband could actually be spending more time home with us and all of these things. But at the time, all I could see was the drawbacks. So I was overcome with mom guilt and even shame. I feel like, oh, it's so messed up. For me, personally, that's not how I wanted to be living. Okay. Again, now I see it, and I've eased up a lot of the mom guilt because I can see more objectively the benefits and the drawbacks to the situation. But at the time, it was overwhelming. And so it shifted my values, where business had been something that I started to kind of keep me company in a way to serve when my husband was going to be leaving and on the other side of the country years before that. And business was a top priority. And over the last few years, it has dropped down the ladder. And it's been so interesting. I'm just going to share all this with you so that it's context and it makes sense. What I've been realizing over the last few months is I was beating myself up in those months after Nikki was born because I had such a momentum the year before when I was pregnant with him and my husband was deployed. I had so much momentum and I was just taking action like a freaking boss, creating, launching, promoting. It was an amazing year. for my business in 2015. And it was a lot of fun. But 2016, I was like, I can't be inspired to do anything. Like I even had workshops that I had pre-sold and I was taking my sweet time. I just couldn't do it. And I was like, why? Like what's going on? And I was fighting it. Naptime Empires, I started to talk about in 2016. And then towards the end of the year, I actually, started recording the episodes that were eventually the conversations in season 1. But it was like, this felt so unlike me. And I couldn't figure out what was going on. I wasn't appreciating the now, for sure. There might have been moments where I was, and there were moments when I was. I don't mean to be so extreme. But I was like, what is going on? And I was just fighting this whole season. Like, what's going on? I'm supposed to be, so much of my identity is go, 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 grow, 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 go live, share the content, email the blog post, whatever. So it was just kind of this swirly, foggy, what's going on? And then that got even more extreme over the last year whenever we moved to Texas and our life turned inside out and upside down. And, my husband was gone and now he's home and everything was just like, what is happening? And why am I like even less, even though now that I'm supposed to be the primary earner, why am I like totally backing away from my business? Like now is not the time, Nikki. It's 2017. You're supposed to be stepping up into full gear. And what I want to say is now over just the last few months with the tools that I've been using, Dr. DeMartini's work has been super helpful and various other, like just thinking about it and journaling and just really looking back to connect. I call it the divine breadcrumbs. I have a whole podcast episode on that. And the Steve Jobs quote keeps popping into my life about how you can't connect the dots looking forward. You can only connect them looking backward. This is what I'm encouraging you to do, is to connect these dots looking backwards and to trust that the dots are going to connect. But first you got to draw the dot. And we've talked about that in another solo episode. But I'm just getting so much clarity and so much appreciation for this season for business bumping down, because with Dr. DeMartini's work, it's about your values first. And I realized that my values shifted and it's like family first, personal development, then like nature. You've probably noticed if you hang out with me that I love like taking pictures. If you look on my Instagram, talking about national parks and dreaming about national parks and visiting national parks, travel with friends, and then wealth building. And then realizing, business isn't really even on that list. Business is just kind of the vehicle through which I was being able to spend time with my family and learn and spend money on personal development in our home and travel and blah, blah, blah. And so it makes perfect sense that if I was able to do all of those things without my business being necessary, then it just kind of fell off the list. My marriage, we had to learn like how to actually be together because he was gone 80% of the last 4 years before he got home. Naturally, the business, which kept me company while he was gone, needed to take a back seat so I could be like, hello, human. Who are you? How do we relate? How does our partnership work? What do we want this to look like? And so I can look back and finally, and I'm sharing this with you in hopes that I can help you shortcut, but I understand that you need to have your own experience. And sometimes we just have to live through it. But I just want to offer you this insight. I wouldn't say I'm on the other side of this season, but I'm definitely in the beautiful transition into the next because I'm finally developing an appreciation for where I have been and not fighting it, not judging it for come on, Nikki, why isn't your business growing? Oh my gosh, why is your business sliding air quotes backwards and all of these things? And I'm like, it's so beautiful because this book that I'm writing is chronicling so much of the journey that I've been on over the last 3 years. It's all serving a purpose. And the reason why I'm telling you this is because I can appreciate each of these moments and each of these struggles and each of these dark times and the what the F is going on? When am I going to be inspired again? When am I going to get my groove back and whatever? It's just realizing it's a totally different groove to find. I'm a different person. I have shifted. My values have shifted. My experience and perspective has shifted. That's not the groove. I'm not trying to get that groove back. I'm grateful to be able to integrate the lessons from this foggy time, knowing that there will be more foggy times. Hello. This is the process. This is life. This is the journey. It's messy. But we learn, we get clarity, and then we get all foggy again, right? It's just the process. But I wanted to share this with you, this whole appreciate where you are now thing, and to give this air quotes tip of looking at it in the context of future you. I love the concept that Susan's talking about with future self, whether that's future self 30 minutes from now, 1 hour from now, a decade from now. And I've mentioned this in the journaling episode that I'm going to create future self visualizations. I love those. and I actually just have my own take. I'm like Goldilocks, where I'm like, no, I want more time, or stop asking me so many questions about the house. I don't know, like I want to create my own version for us, and it'll probably be like a book bonus or something next year. But if you can just think about now in the context of what future you will think and thank you for, then you can make it through, and you can appreciate that this is on the way of your dream. It's not in the way. This is a part of your story. This is a part of your message. Document it. Not that you have to share it with anybody else, but document it. I have a post I'll link in the show notes about biz puberty and how it's actually fun when you anchor in these moments. Then you can look back and see how you've grown. And again, you see that those awkward, oh my gosh, what am I doing? Those things are like a growth chart, like my dad would draw and still does with the grandkids on a door frame and mark our heights and see how far we've grown. If you don't anchor these points in, if you don't appreciate and anchor in the now, then you're not going to have a track record of your growth. So I would say document it for yourself, or for sure on social if you want to do that too. So document it, see it for what it is, which is a bridge between where you are now and where you're going to be. And when you can appreciate it and stop arm wrestling it, you can actually enjoy it. Because if we're always looking for what's next, that's what I'm saying in my Instagram caption, where we're like looking over the moment's head, like, yeah, but then we're never actually enjoying our lives. What? I know. Again, I'm saying this, I wrote this whole thing for me. So I'm saying this as much to myself as I'm saying it to you, if not more. I need you to repeat it back to me. So anchor it in, put some context around it. Talk to future you, because when you go through this future self-visualization process, and you can Google them, there's some on YouTube that are free. But she or he, they are so grateful to see you because you made that moment possible. You made that reality possible. The you that is going through the struggle of right now made that beautiful reality possible. They don't get there without you. So can you please be grateful for where you are now? And even if you're not feeling grateful, if you could just take the step to trust that where you are now, there is a benefit, there is a reason, it is going to serve you, because you're a powerful creator and you're going to find a way to use what you have right now, even if it's a mess and even if it feels like pain. You're resourceful AF, and you're going to figure out a way to use this as a launching pad, even if it's a slow launch, a trickle, a baby step. So that's what I wanted to share. And then also related to the podcast, it works because I've known I wanted to record this solo episode on this whole appreciate where you are now thing, but it's taken me months to record it. And what I can see now, 2020 hindsight, connecting the dots, is the reason why I feel good about recording this episode and the next few episodes as we wrap up season 2 is because now I have a plan for what comes next. Because for a while I was like, I don't know, am I just going to end Naptime Empires and that's it? Goodbye? I didn't know if that felt right. But now I have a plan, at least in this moment. I might change my mind. I reserve the right to change my mind, and you should too. But I do have a plan for season 3 for 2019 that I feel actually really excited about, but I wasn't committed to it yet. Obviously, I'm still not fully. I'd say 90% committed to this season 3 idea that I have. But now that I have that idea of what's next, and I can see how finishing season 2 is on the way and not in the way, here I am, finishing season 2. So again, that's just an example of how this lesson has been showing up in my life big time, now in your life, in your earbuds. And I just want to say I'm really grateful for now, and for you and for me being on this journey together. I would love to hear from you. Any of your favorite takeaways, ahas, insights, just like I said, tag me in your Instagram story, whether it's now in real time or years into the future when you're listening to this. I trust the divine timing of it all. So thank you so much for spending some of your now with me today. I can't wait to hear from you, and I'll catch you in the next episode.
This show may be over, but the conversation is just beginning. Head on over to naptimeempires.com/Facebook so you can join my free... Wait, did I say free? I meant priceless, rapidly growing community of Naptime Empire builders for deeper discussions, behind-the-scenes scoop, and of course, updates whenever I've got new stuff coming up for you. naptimeempires.com/Facebook. See you there.
See you next time. Thanks for listening.